FearScape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
I've never felt any sort of energy, but there's something that mimics my 7-year-old.
There are enough witches in Long Compton to pull a truckload of hay up a very steep hill.
It's never, hi, I'm John, I'm died 5 years ago, I'm standing next to you. It's always where you have to figure it out.
Join us this Halloween for the 2021 Peer Beyond the Veil Monsters Ball.
Was it a spirit in the house?
Yeah, there's nothing extraordinary about that at all, except that he shouldn't have been there.
Featuring special guests, the astonishing legend's very own Forrest Burgess, Lawmen Podcast's James Shakeshaft, from 222 Paranormal Joe Shortridge, from Ghosts in the Attic, Bodies in the Basement, the fantastic Anna and Lindsey, my old friend the awesome Joshua Cutchin.
Lindsey was smart enough to start making a face recording, in case they get murdered, there's evidence.
And joining us again, our very special guest, Alan Greenfield.
Ever heard about a naked ghost? I don't recall having heard of one, but nevertheless.
And it turned into a guy that I actually saw with my own eyes coming out of the woods at me.
Find us at marklwatson.co.uk, at FearScape Media, or search anywhere you find your podcasts. This Halloween.
You just gave an offering to the great beyond.
Ghosts in the Attic's, Bodies in the Basements may contain graphic, violent, vulgar, or explicit content not suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Ghosts in the Attic, Spies in the Basement. I'm Anna.
And I'm Lindsey, and come on in to our haunted house.
Right? The Haunted Manor. It's Halloween.
Halloween.
Well, a few days before Halloween when you are launching this episode. So we will be coming out with this episode on Friday, the 29th, which means it's just a few days until Halloween. It's my favorite time of the year.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not because I'm basic. It's because I'm going to just clear this up for everyone once and for all. Halloween is a magnificent holiday, and let me tell you why. You could be weird, you could be poor, you could be gay, you could be anything. Anything. And nobody makes fun of you. You're all included. Everyone gets candy at the end of the night, and everyone tells you how awesome you are. It's literally the most inclusive holiday, I swear. I love it.
Also, while we're on the subject of everybody being inclusive and candy, teenager comes to your door, give them candy.
Right? They chose to not go party. Instead, they chose to go trick or treat. Yeah.
To be a kid. I once went trick or treating as a teenager with my sister and our basically sister before we went down to the haunted house that we worked in. And this lady was all snobby. Aren't you all a little too old to be trick or treating?
What a bitch.
We were 15, 16, that age area. It's
right.
Give us candy.
It's we put out so much effort into these costumes.
I don't know if we were even dressed up. But whatever.
Yeah, I just think it's funny that people are looking at all the ways it could be a negative holiday when it's just look at all the ways it's a positive holiday. I don't know. That's my little soapbox. I will die on that hill.
Do you all have any Halloween plans?
I'm going to be passing out candy Friday at one of my locations and Saturday in my hometown. They're doing a Halloween event. So I'm going to be all dressed up for work and passing out candy to all, I think they quoted me 5,000 kids.
Oh, fun times. That's a lot.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot. Hopefully somebody is able to come down and help me pass out candy. That would be very much appreciated. But
yes,
we'll find out.
Yeah, we always just do
time.
Yeah, we always just do trick or treating, but we try to come home and do hot cocoa and watch Hocus Pocus. I always want to watch Hocus Pocus.
Absolutely.
The kids are always like, let's watch YouTube or whatever other movie. And I'm like, it's Hocus Pocus. But
like your choices are Hocus Pocus, or if you have to really choose, Hocus Pocus.
It's like, I have to at least watch part of it.
Absolutely. That intro music is Halloween.
Last year it was actually too warm for us to have hot cocoa. We came home and we're like, I started told the kids, I was like, no, it's not happening. I'm sweaty. I'm hot.
Not today.
Candy.
Right.
I'm not making
I usually make hot chocolate and soup or goulash.
I always try to do like a Halloween themed dinner. My all-time favorite was when I made meatloaf. It was a zombie head. Or
I remember that.
Mummy, because I had the bacon.
Yeah, I remember that was really cool.
It turned out awesome, and I was so proud of that. And my kids
and no one appreciated it.
I don't remember what we did last year. The kids did mummy hot dogs, but I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't know what we did last year, except I bought candy and told them happy Halloween because it was COVID, so couldn't really do much. So that's our Halloween plans. Outside of that, we have had some really exciting news right before we started recording. One of our favorite podcasts is Fairy Tale Fix, and it's nothing like what we like at all do here.
I mean, the title says it all. It's about fairy tales.
It's so different and so relaxing for me because, you know, sometimes you get in your head. I don't know if you do it too, Lindsey, but I get in my head about like, oh, I can't listen to this podcast about true crime or paranormal stuff because if we cover it, then I don't want to seem like I'm copying them, or you know what I mean? So I get in my head with that kind of shit. So this is just a nice little escape for me. And they're so funny.
They're good storytellers too.
They're so good at what they do. And Lindsey just like Snapchatted me this morning and all I heard was screaming. So I had to call her and I was like, what? And she told me that they shouted us out on their podcast, which I mean, yeah, we get sometimes shout outs from people on our network.
Yeah.
For another podcast that's not on our network to shout us out. Like that's so big for us. So we're honored and we're excited to make podcast friends.
Yes. It was so cool too, because the whole reason I was listening this morning versus other times, I get in moods of like, okay, I'm going to listen to podcasts or I'm going to listen to audiobooks. You know, I have not been in a podcast zone lately, but I got the notification about the episode coming out or whatever. And I saw that one of the stories that they covered for their Halloween episode is a story I'm covering.
Oh,
so I was like, oh, I have to listen to it before. So that way I can like be sure, first of all, like see the differences in the way the stories are and like tell everybody to go listen to it. So that's the whole reason I listened day of all days, that episode. And then I heard ghosts in the attics, bodies in the basement. I seriously went, ah! And my 3-year-old goes, what? What's wrong? I had headphones in. And I was like, nothing.
It's so surreal. Like I was sitting in the living room after you had already told me it happened. And Alan was like, did they just say your name? And I was like, they did. They said it. Which is like, he doesn't really get into the podcasts I get into. He's more of a like news and techie and like whatever. So he actually enjoys listening to Fairy Tale Fix with me, which I am honestly beyond excited about. But I mean, the fact that we have anything in common after 14 years of marriage is pretty promising. A lot of people, you know, say when you get married young, it doesn't last, but here's us proving them wrong. Just celebrated on the 25th, we celebrated our 14-year wedding anniversary.
Very exciting. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah, I spent it sick, so there was that. Yeah, the seasons are changing. Bronchitis is my friend, you know, good times.
Fun time. And speaking of podcast friends, we actually attended a podcast Zoom Halloween party last week.
Yes, it was so much fun.
We were on Peer Beyond the Veil, which is another FearScape Media podcast. You heard their commercial at the start of this episode. Mark L. Watson is the host of that, and he got together just a group of us who are all different backgrounds and experiences and stuff, but are all in the paranormal realm of work, I guess you could say. And we just got together and chit-chatted and talked about ghost stuff, and it was a ton of fun.
Yes, it was so much fun, and it was so refreshing to talk to like-minded people and not feel like the weirdo in the room.
Validating. It was very validating. So thank you to
Yes.
everybody who ended that, because
And that episode comes out Saturday the 30th if
yes,
you are
comes out
interested in
tomorrow
checking
if
it
you're
out
listening to this on
when we
Monday.
launch. Yeah.
Great. It was awesome.
Not to mention, there is this wonderful podcast called Alluring, and they have put together a Halloween podcast playlist, and they've asked us to be on it. So
Yes.
yay, more podcasty friends. You'll hear a commercial for that in the middle of the episode, and I really hope you guys check it out. There's so many good podcasts on there. I mean, so many.
The playlist is on Spotify.
It's on Spotify, and we're just so excited to be a part of it.
Yes, that's Alluring. It's ALOREING. So it's like a play on lore and alluring.
We'll have it in the show notes for sure, and we'll probably share it all over Instagram and Facebook like we do. Well, I guess let's kick it off. Do you want to start today, or do you want me to start?
I'm going to actually start with a kind of Halloween story, but
right,
because like Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the usually joking posts about Doll in the Hall?
Yes, it's fucking hilarious.
I have a friend who's doing that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And it cracks me up because her posts, every single one of them, because first of all, it's funny enough that they're doing it. It's a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yes.
And the best part is they did not know that the real life Annabelle was a Raggedy Ann doll.
Oh, that's even better.
It
That's
just happened
fantastic.
to be the doll they had, and they couldn't figure out why their kids were so terrified.
That's fantastic.
And, oh my God, all the posts crack me up. My all-time favorite one that I have seen. First of all, backtrack. Her husband's all like, oh my gosh, somebody rein in my wife. She's out of control. I was feeding her ideas. I was on Pinterest sending her screenshots that were technically Elf on the Shelf, but like naughty Elf on the Shelf. And I was like,
oh, that's funny.
And I got chastised, like, stop giving her ideas. You're not helping. I was helping. But my all-time favorite one that I cannot take credit for, but oh my gosh, I cracked up laughing, is he has the doll set up that usually has like a note.
Yeah.
And doll is sitting with a bin of like smooth stones. But then the note says, sticks and stones won't break my bones, but they would probably break yours.
That's fucked up.
But then it's like, here's this nice sensory bin
right
for you. Like, so like great parenting, and then also not so great parenting. And you can be the judge on which one makes it the great one. And let me just say,
have some humor in your life.
Let me just say, for the record, Andy said, there's Lindsey and Andy. I can't remember if I said names.
No, you did not.
Okay. So Andy, when I asked permission to share this on the podcast, and said, well, we're probably not winning any parenting awards. So this is my official GABB digital means absolutely nothing in the real world parenting award presented to Lindsey and Andy for this wonderful parenting.
I second that.
Congratulations, guys.
You rock. No, but in all honesty, it's absolutely hilarious. And
I love it.
So if you don't have some sort of sense of humor, we can't be friends. So I'm glad to know there's other weirdos out there. Before we get too far in, we have an update on the Gabby Petito case. There's no fun way about this case. Like, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm just going to break it to you. You've probably already seen everywhere. Right. I mean, everywhere. But Brian Laundrie's remains were identified in the reserve in Florida, where he had been alleged to be hiding out. They also found a backpack and a notebook nearby. I've seen on some news and some TikToks that what they're finding to believe is Gabby's water bottle was near the remains, but I'm a little confused on the significance of that.
I've been seeing that too, where some TikTokers were out hiking and came across the water bottle and recognized it from Instagram posts that Gabby had made in the past.
Right.
And then when they took it to the police, I don't know if the police took it and processed it or what. I saw one thing that said the police wanted to throw it away.
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
So I don't know what's really going on with that or what it could even show other than like.
Right. Like he was with Gabby at one point, but we already all knew that.
We already all knew that. So I don't know. If somebody knows what that could mean, let us know.
Yeah, we're definitely invested in this case. But yeah, just a quick update before we get into the Halloween stuff. Speaking of Halloween stuff, our last episode we talked about true crime associated with Halloween, and now it's the Friday before Halloween. Woo! We want to keep it on theme and talk about the spooky paranormal side of Halloween. So let's start with the origins of Halloween. Lindsay, do you want to go with that?
Sure, I can get us started on that.
All right.
The origins of Halloween date back about 2,000 years ago in what is now Ireland, the UK, and northern France. Back then was Celtic land. And Halloween originated as Samhain.
I think it's Samhain.
Samhain. It's spelled Samhain when it's Samhain. Always confusing.
Yeah.
But it was the Celtic New Year celebration for the end of summer and harvest and leading in winter. So like New Year was November 1st. And
weird.
October 31st was like the celebration. Kind of like how we do like New Year's Eve.
Right.
And during this time, they believed that like the veil was thin and those could walk among the living.
That's crazy.
Celebrate, the Druids, who were the Celtic priests, would build huge sacred bonfires, and the people gathered and they would burn like crops and animals as sacrifices to their deities. And they usually wore costumes, which were typically animal heads and animal skin.
I didn't know all that. That's really cool. Once the Roman Empire conquered a majority of the Celtic land, Samhain started to be combined with Roman festivities and became one of their celebrations. Those were the Feralia. I can't talk, guys. Feralia. I don't know, but you can Google it, or we'll leave it in the show notes. I don't do well with other languages. I deeply apologize. It is the day the Romans celebrated the passing of the dead, a festival to celebrate the goddess Panoma, who was the goddess of fruits and trees, which was actually where they get the idea of apple bobbing. Isn't that neat?
I always wondered where bobbing for apples came from. It's a weird tradition. And I've never actually experienced it in real life.
I've never done it either. It looks messy. Not gonna lie.
Looks terrifying. I don't want to drown.
Right.
Like, I always think there's an episode of The Office where they're having a Halloween party. Erin, who is what's that actress's name? Like Kimmy Schmidt?
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
But anyways, she is just like in the bucket and they're like, oh my God, she hasn't moved in a while. And they pull her out and she says that she ate several apples under the water. And I'm just like, I know it's fake. I know it's a TV show. That stresses me out so bad.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, that would stress me out too. Now later Christianity spread to All Saints Day, becoming celebrated on November 1st, which again started to blend and take over Samhain. November 2nd became All Souls Day and is widely believed it was an attempt by the Catholic Church to replace Celtic celebrations with church sanctioned holidays.
It's always how it goes though. The Christian holidays they like take over and steal things.
Yeah, we're not here to discuss religion, but it's an interesting note. And when you know it, All Souls Day was celebrated with bonfires, dressing in costumes, etc. Though the costumes were angels, saints, and devils.
Well, those are popular Halloween costumes.
I always assume that, and witches, because of unfortunately the Salem witch trials and things like that. So I guess that's kind of. But then where do we get clowns? The All Saints Day celebration was also called All Hallows or All Hallowmans. Hallowmans. Sorry, I can't read today, guys. So the night before, which was October 31st, became All Hallows Eve, which eventually turned into Halloween. I'm not even drunk. This is ridiculous. I can't read.
Halloween, everyone.
It became Halloween. These celebrations came over through the U.S., though not widely celebrated due to the Protestants' strict rules against it. The Celtic traditions from Europe started to mesh with celebrations of Native Americans. And basically, there was just these big parties celebrating the harvest where they told stories of the dead, danced, and told fortunes. Overall, they weren't really Halloween celebrations, though. Halloween became popular as Irish immigrants came over during the potato famine in the second half of the 19th century.
And as time went on in the late 1800s, Americans really or America really tried to turn Halloween into a secular holiday, more than being about ghosts.
Right.
Parents were encouraged to have parties, but to take the frightening and grotesque, and then so that caused Halloween to start to lose the superstitious and religious overtones and become
Right.
more community centered. And then in the 1920s and 1930s, they had parades and town-wide parties. Could you imagine a town-wide Halloween party?
Just like in Hocus Pocus.
Exactly. Okay, back in. But during that time in the 20s and 30s, like the pranking that and vandalism kind of grew.
Oh.
And so it became a problem. That's actually why haunted houses became a thing. I don't know if you know that. I didn't put it in our show notes. I've read it before though, because I've worked in haunted houses before. I'm wearing my haunted house shirt right now. But they were a way to try to get kids to stop vandalizing things, whatnot. So give them something to do. So haunted house.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's really interesting.
So then
and it makes it a little more like less spooky to know that it's just to keep you from doing dumb shit.
As somebody who's worked in a haunted house, I can tell you people do dumb shit in the haunted house.
I bet.
Like the time that Devin got trampled. But anyways, yeah, I yelled at those
sounds
people.
like a
I probably
hell of a
shouldn't
story.
have, but I was like, that's a human.
Right? God.
But so then by the 1950s, towns mostly curbed the whole vandalism aspect of things, and it became more of a holiday geared towards children. And trick-or-treating became more popular. And so since then, it's grown and grown and grown, and it's a huge commercial holiday in the United States now.
Yep. And it's my favorite. I can't say enough good things about Halloween.
It is the one holiday that is 100% commercial that I'm like,
yeah, I'm okay with it.
I don't care if it's to get me to buy candy and costumes we don't need. I'm gonna do it.
Absolutely. Well, I have a random spooky thing that happened to me before we get into your first story. Me and Lindsey were on FaceTime the other day because I was in my office at work and I hear like a man's voice. Now I'm home alone. So I call her on FaceTime and she starts recording when about the time I say, my address if you need it, right? And I had no idea she was recording. I just was
I usually would ask.
I had somebody on the phone. Yeah, I was just making sure somebody was like on the phone in case like there were people in my house, because I get from my office to the middle of my living room and I hear a child giggling. Very unsettling.
It was. I straight up said, what the fuck was that?
Right. And so I get into my dining room where the noise is coming from and there's no one in there, which I mean, thankfully, but it's coming from a locked tablet. The tablet has a password. I finally figure out the password. I get in there and there's nothing on the screen. It's playing in the back menu. My son had the tablet on that morning at low volume. It was so loud I could hear it across the house. And it was so audible that she could actually hear the voices, whereas usually she can't understand the background noise on my phone.
There have been times that she had like a raccoon in the house, like in the walls or whatever. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? And I couldn't anything at all. And it was scratching pretty loudly. And it sounded like there was a person talking.
Yeah, it was fucking terrifying. It was just YouTube, but I flipped the fuck out, and it's directly across from where my daughter's urn was, and it's just like, really not a fun way to prank mommy. Not
Halloween
fun
was
at
her
all.
Favorite though.
Halloween was her favorite. The veil is thin, and and
it was
believer.
like right after the full moon. They say also like the October full moon is also in the.
So all around, that freaked me way the fuck out the other day.
Yeah, we were shook up for hours.
Yeah, hours.
Because we legitimately thought somebody had broken in, and then tablets locked, and then one thing after another. It was really hard to settle back down after that.
I just remember watching the video, even though she had told me there's no jump scare aspects. And I just remember watching it going, I swear to God, if I see something.
I was convinced I was going to see like shit on the wall behind your shoulder.
I'm still not recovered from that. And that was days
I got chilled
ago.
again.
That was terrifying. Like
it really was
legitimately terrifying. And I just remember being on the phone call because that video, I'm like, oh God, I want to vomit a little bit.
Oh yeah. And I had the kind of goosebumps where
they wouldn't go away.
And it was like my pants rubbing my legs hurt.
Yep.
Because the goosebumps just like would not go away. Oh, it was terrifying. It really was.
It was not fun, guys. Not fun at all. So I don't know if it's like Jillian's ghost, which sounds morbid to some people, but it's just where my brain goes because my kid, her urn's in my house type thing.
Yeah.
Or if it's something more like the people that used to live here don't live here for a reason type thing. I don't know if they passed away here or if they passed away in like a hospital, but they sold this house because the husband died. So I don't know if it's like his ghost. I don't know, but I'm not fond of it.
Terrifying regardless.
But tell me a story.
A creepy story? Or
Ooh, yes, why not?
So a few years ago, my oldest, who is now 10, was probably 2.5. And my middle child was a baby. And we were getting ready to go grocery shopping. And so I'm getting the baby ready. And toddler's in the bathroom messing around. And I was like, all right, it's time to go. Let's go. And she waves at my mirror. I said, bye, ghost.
No.
I kind of stopped. And I'm like, okay, not everything is a ghost, though. Like, I try to be rational.
Right.
And at the time, she cartoons like The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Courage the Cowardly Dog and stuff like that. And so I asked her to tell me what the ghost looked like because I'm like, whatever she's playing, I'll be able to figure out
what show
she's referring to.
Right.
And instead of saying like, I don't know what I expected, like a sheet ghost or something.
Right.
She got really serious, straight face, staring at the mirror. And then she took one lone finger, dragged it across her throat and said, scratches.
Ugh. I hate that.
I got chills. This was so many years ago. And like, I got chills just saying that. And so of course I was like, all right, it's time to go now. Let's go. And I never wanted to come home again. But she never said anything again. But then a few years later, when we had moved, and I remember one night, Mom, we learned in class today, like, did you know that this movement, and she did the finger across the throat thing, that means like dying or death. And I was like, I just learned that today.
Right.
Just learned that today. She's like, oh, why? And I was like, no reason.
Right.
Of course,
That's
my
so
brain goes back to
creepy.
little 2-year-old her drawing her finger across her throat and saying scratches.
Right.
I don't know what was up with that. That house was weird. That was my house that I call the House of 1,000 Creatures. Because there was something wrong with that house. And
anything
not just
that could be in
structurally.
that house was in that house.
We never had a bat that I was aware
thankfully.
of. But just about everything else.
Right.
I swear. It was awful.
Oh. Ugh. I don't. It's it's funny because like I was trying to talk to Landon last night because he was just being annoying. So I was being annoying back at him, and we're trying to watch yet again another Halloween movie that has not been finished. And he was like saying some nonsense about pranks, and I was like, Grandma Janice used to prank me when I was little. And he goes, oh yeah.
You tell him the story you told us?
No, I don't think I've told you this one. So she used to try to make me wear socks to bed and cover my feet on top of that, right? So hot, so gross. Ew. The thought of it just makes my skin curl.
Socks off, and I don't even have socks on right now.
Right. So I don't like socks unless I have to. It's just where I'm at. And so it's been like this my whole life. And she used to tell me that if I didn't keep my socks on and my feet covered, the witches would come in the windows and steal my toes.
Oh my gosh, Janice.
And I believed that for the longest fucking time.
Why would you not?
I was like, oh, okay. The things that come out of this woman's mouth, I'm telling you, she's a hoot.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, she did not say that. I was like, do you want to call her and ask? He's like, not really that invested. I was like, oh, I love you too. Also, props for the big language, but
I know, right?
Thanks, Landon.
Gosh.
If you are wanting more Halloween lore, legends, or spooky ghost stories in your life, like the one you're listening to today, then look no further. Hi everyone, my name is Kimmy, and I'm here with my co-host Ryan.
Hey guys, we're the hosts of the podcast Alluring, and we're currently hosting an Alluring Halloween. So we went ahead and collaborated with some of our favorite podcasts to create a special playlist with a collection of Halloween lore, legends, and ghost stories just for you.
And throughout the month of October, we will be adding episodes to get you all in the spooky season mood. Think of it as your go-to Halloween podcast playlist.
You can listen to it today by going to Spotify and searching an Alluring Halloween. That's ALOREING. Or simply go to our website, alluring.com, and we'll have a direct link there.
So go check it out and enjoy the collection of spooky Halloween lore, legends, and ghost stories today.
So you're going to tell me a not so creepy but very interesting story.
Yes. Okay. Do you remember, you're going to know this, our listeners are not. Do you remember a few years ago when I wrote the story that became, I think it's called Tradition, that I put,
the bonus episode.
The bonus story
bonus
in the paperback
episode.
version of Paranormalist.
Yeah.
So the backstory there, for those of you who don't know, is one day I was walking back. This is probably like 2015. I don't remember the exact year, but I was walking back home from taking the oldest to school, and for some reason my brain started thinking, like, why do we do jack-o'-lantern?
Right.
Like, what? Who decided we were just gonna start carving pumpkins and its faces? What the heck?
Yeah.
And my brain, I have an overactive imagination. That's why I write. Starts going, what if the whole reason we did jack-o'-lanterns was because there was some monster that came out and would eat humans, but then it couldn't see well or smell well or something. And so it was eating pumpkins thinking it's eating humans, which is why it looks like faces. And so, of course, my brain just runs with this idea, and I go home and I write that story.
It's really good.
I'm actually really proud of that story.
Yeah.
But because I got so caught up in doing that, I never looked up the actual story of why we have jack-o'-lanterns.
I never did either.
And so I decided when we said we were going to do Halloween, I had to look that up. And ironically, this is the story that was on that episode of Fairy Tale Fix.
Oh, wow. That's so coincidental.
Yeah, so when I saw in the episode description, when I got the notification for the episode that they were covering that, I was like, I have to listen to it because I bet their version is much better. And it's not that it's better or worse, but it is slightly different than the one that I'm going to read.
Right.
And so definitely go check that out. It's on their new episode. It's called Children Are Always Scary. This is the story of Stingy Jack, and I am reading a version that was posted on history.com. The link is sources part of our show notes, as always. According to the story, Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him. True to his name, Stingy Jack didn't want to pay for his drink, so he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin that Jack could use to buy their drinks. Once the devil did so, Jack decided to keep the money and put it in his pocket next to a silver cross, which prevented the devil from changing back into his form. Jack eventually freed the devil under the condition that he would not bother Jack for 1 year, and that, should Jack die, he would not claim his soul. Next year, Jack again tricked the devil into climbing into a tree. While he was up in the tree, Jack carved a sign of the cross into the tree's bark so that the devil could not come down until the devil promised Jack not to bother him for 10 more years. Soon after, Jack died. As the legend goes, God would not allow such an unsavory figure into the heaven. The devil, upset by the trick that Jack had played on him, and keeping his word not to claim his soul, would not allow Jack into hell. He sent Jack off into the dark, a burning coal to light his way. Jack put the coal into a carved-out turnip and has been roaming the earth ever since. Irish began to refer to his ghostly figure as Jack of the Lantern, and then simply Jack-o'-lantern.
Ooh.
In Ireland and Scotland, people began to make their own versions of Jack's lantern by carving scary faces, turnips, or potatoes and placing them in the windows or near doors to frighten away Stingy Jack and other wandering evil spirits. In England, large beets are used. Immigrants from these countries brought the jack-o'-lantern tradition with them. When they came to the United States, and they soon found that pumpkins, a fruit native to America, became perfect jack-o'-lanterns.
Wow, that's crazy. I had no idea about any of that. That's insane.
Yeah, and like it's very interesting. First of all, call me ignorant. Do you know that pumpkins were only native to North America?
I did not.
I did not know that either. So, sorry, other countries. Did not ever know that.
Well, I'm going to tell you a ghost story from Oklahoma.
Ooh.
I found this while I was doing the good old Googling, and it's the Skirving Hotel in Oklahoma City. Bill Skirving's heart belonged to his Oklahoma City hotel. He couldn't escape the lure of booze and women. I hear that's a big downfall for a lot of these old stories. Booze, women, trifling acts. It says it was rumored that Bill Skirvin had an affair with a maid named Effie. She became pregnant with his child. And in order to avoid shame and embarrassment, Skirvin locked her up in a room on the 10th floor. Naturally, she became depressed and she was kept in the room even after giving birth to the child. In a fit of madness, Effie jumped out the window. There was no mention of the incident in the papers. However, Effie was known as a woman with loose morals, and the guests of the Skirvin Hotel have ever since reported the female apparition and a voice alone in their rooms. Over the years, the staff have reported objects moving by themselves, strange noises at night. Even the NBA is plagued by ghosts of the Skirvin Hotel. Whenever there is a game in Oklahoma City, various teams report cases of hauntings. In 2010, the New York Knicks famously blamed their loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder by the haunting. Yeah, isn't that crazy? ESPN's Bill Simmons claims to have been awoke by a baby's crying. Specifics of what happened were not detailed. The Chicago Bulls reported doors slamming shut and strange sounds outside of the rooms. And in 2012, the Skirvin Hotel haunts received national attention when the Miami Heat stayed there for the NBA Finals. So that's a little bit of the haunted Skirvin Hotel in Oklahoma City.
That's creepy. I do not like disembodied baby crying.
No, I don't like that either. Because, like, is it a baby ghost or is it a demon?
Right.
It's always so scary. That's why the other day when I heard the giggling, I freaked the fuck out.
Yes. Like I said, and like Fairy Tale Fix said, children are scary. We say that as parents.
Yes. As loving parents, children are terrifying.
I have a creepy children's story about Texas.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I came across this ghost story and I'm very unnerved by the fact that apparently this is not far from me and I've driven by this area, not like directly by, but close
nearby.
Close enough where when I saw this, I was like, how have I never heard of this? And I'm terrified.
Oh.
Apparently, out here in West Texas, not too far from me, there is a ghost town called Shafter Lake.
Okay.
And it's been abandoned for a little over 100 years. There's a bunch of mysteries surrounding it. And there's a couple of stories that are going to be on this website where I found this, and that'll be in the show notes. But
okay, I'm ready.
Hollow-eyed ghost children of Shafter Lake.
Right. Okay, but like, are they black-eyed kids or are they like ghosts?
No.
Ooh, yay.
Black-eyed kids are a whole other topic.
Right. We'll have to get into that one day because like
I'm so scared to Google it to do an episode.
Right.
I desperately want to talk about it, but I'm so scared to do the research. I don't want them showing up at my house.
Start writing a book about demons and translating things into Latin. It really fucked me up for a while.
Oh. So I'm reading from this website. It's rivercityghosts.com. The smallpox epidemic of 1910 to 1911 devastated the town, Shafter Lake, killing a decent portion of the town's residents. Shafter Lake was an isolated town, and proper medical care was few and far between. A local witch doctor made an herbal concoction which she claimed would cure the illness. Townsfolk were desperate and were willing to try anything, accepted the witch doctor's unusual medicine. Turns out that the herbal concoction was toxic and gave those who attempted it maddening and terrifying hallucinations.
Oh, fuck no.
Those who fell ill went crazy. Some gouged out their eyes and the eyes of their children while poisoned by their delusion.
Holy shit.
The spirits of the children who lost their eyes still roam around Shafter Lake. Visitors who venture to the lake at night just might encounter the so-called hollow-eyed children. The children seem friendly at first as they try to befriend you by playing innocent children's games. But it turns out that this is a ploy. The children want to inflict others with the same torture that was inflicted on them. Witnesses say that the children attempted to gouge out the eyes of their targets or boil them in their sockets. How does one do that? I don't know. Hoping to force their victim to join the sadistic troupe. It's safe to say that one shouldn't visit Shafter Lake at night.
Yeah, no, fuck all that.
I hate it so much. Imagine, I'd be terrified to go, but imagine if I went. Children are more sensitive, and we all know I've mentioned several times on here my middle child.
Right.
Something
That's
goes
so
on with
scary.
her. Oh my God. I feel nauseous after reading.
Right. Same.
Absolutely terrifying.
Fuck yeah. So, I mean, that's nightmare fuel. Well, I have one more thing that's Oklahoma related in talking about spooky shit. How do you feel about haunted children's homes?
You already know how I feel about children being involved in hauntings.
So when Caleb Germany was in high school in Oklahoma City, he and some friends drove out to Guthrie one night to see an abandoned building rumored to be a haunted orphanage. German asked, how curious, what's the history of this building? Is it actually haunted? The property in question is a former Masonic children's home, a stately classical revival red brick building with marble columns built by the Freemasons in the 1920s. Germany visited the site of a handful of times during high school and college, but he and his friends never ventured inside. Quote, it felt like, hey, if I were a ghost, I'd be hanging out, or this is where I'd be hanging out, end quote, is what German said. More than 100 children reportedly lived at the Masonic Children's Home in the early days. According to legend, a cruel headmistress doled out harsh punishments to children who often misbehaved. Now, Jeff Provine has authored several books about the supernatural in Oklahoma, including Haunted Guthrie. Provine, I hope I'm saying that right, I apologize if I'm not, says that the children abused supposedly upset a staff member who then committed suicide in the building's bell tower. So, you know, another ghostly apparition jumping out of towers. Fun. And it says, quote, they say at midnight, if you're up in the tower and wait, you can see this shadowy figure fall down and hang by the neck, Provine said. Fewer than 24 children lived at the Guthrie home by the 1970s, and it closed in 1977, according to the Oklahoma History Center. It sat unoccupied for years, but it's now an event center and hotel called the Domino House. Oh, I've heard of that. Sorry, I'm blind reading this, so this is like, I wanted it to be like a true scare.
Yeah.
Oh, I've actually heard of the Domino House. They have really pretty weddings there. Haunted weddings, I'm guessing, but pretty weddings nonetheless. Provine said some of the visitors he has reported unusual experiences like seeing a little boy running around in old-fashioned clothes or hearing children laughing. Nope.
Never good.
Nope. Julie Ayers, the Domino House director, said she has spent many late nights on the property but has never seen anything eerie. Quote, a lady made a comment online that the bathroom was unseasonably cold. What she doesn't know is that I have an air conditioner that just feeds the bathroom, says Ayers, laughing. So they fuck with people.
Not cool.
No. Or maybe they don't, but it's how it appears. Because she laughed about it. So it's kind of like, are you trying to scare people and make them think that things are haunted? Some accounts from the children that lived in the building also commented that haunting rumors. In 1955, Oklahoma Masons published a memory book of the children's home with photos and recollections from former residents. It says, quote, we all had plenty to eat, nice clothes, and caring people to look after us, wrote Verona Robertson Go, who said she lived there in the beginning of February of 1930. The publication does not mention a cruel headmistress or harsh punishment. So why are kids so creepy, it says. Many scary stories in film, television, and book center on children or children's homes. That's actually really a good point. They really do focus on eerie children shit quite often. Peter Bradshaw, a film critic for The Guardian, wrote, our profound yet unacknowledged fear of children is a great theme in the horror genre. We are afraid of their vulnerability, which is our vulnerability, Bradthaw theorized. Other theories suggest that child characters are normally portrayed as harmless, so viewers find films that alter that portrayal is disturbing. Ghost stories are sometimes based on truth that many horrific things happen to children in real life. For some residents of the now closed Catholic orphanage in Vermont, for example, accused staff of 2018 of beating and sexually abusing children, some of which who died. That took a very sharp turn. Supernatural historian Jeff Provine said that he does not expect rumors of the former children's home in Guthrie, like the one Caleb Germany heard in high school, to be disappearing anytime soon. Quote, an abandoned mansion on the edge of town. That's urban legend folder right there, Provine said. And that's just another spooky little tale from my home state.
But I have another one that's also in Texas. This one's more in the San Antonio area.
Ooh.
You ever heard of La Llorona?
I actually have, but I don't know a lot about it. Yeah.
Basically, just the woman in white legend, like what's on Supernatural.
Right.
And apparently there is an instance of La Llorona. Here's my question. Is it all just various women in white? Or is it there one La Llorona?
Right. I never understood that either.
I've never looked deeply into the lore of it or watched a movie or
right.
So I'm not really sure, but I just know terrifying regardless.
Absolutely.
Apparently, there is a creek. This story is called Hollering Creek.
Okay.
Which right off the bat, not a fan. As in scary, not a bad story. So between San Antonio and Seguin on I-10 near exit 591, dozens upon dozens of folks have witnessed La Llorona on this small swath of land. Every so often, without rhyme or reason, they see a beautiful waif of a girl bawling her eyes out on the side of the road. Quote, I've personally witnessed her a couple of times, my headlights catching her right before I make my exit. Eerie as hell. The first couple of times I thought they were shooting a film or something, just didn't see the cameras. Then I thought I was hallucinating. Turns out when I went on the web, that place is a hot spot for that one ghost. Locals, those stories passed down from generation to the next, claim that it was the very spot where the overall legend of La Llorona originated.
Oh, really?
This is, to put it bluntly, patient zero. This is where the tale really spread out. The Potboiler Chronicle and Tragedy of the La Llorona, according to generational retelling, goes like this. He's saying the Llorona. It would just be La Llorona, right?
Yeah, I think.
I apologize to any people in Spanish listening to our podcast. We're trying.
I apologize to anyone who listens to me, period. I try every day.
That too.
I fail a lot.
Okay. La Llorona was in fact a local native girl. She was part of the Payaya.
Okay.
I apologize. I don't think that's right. But the band of indigenous people that inhabited the area around the San Antonio River. The Payaya. I feel like I need to look that up. I feel like I'm saying it goofy. I want to be respectful. Well, I tried to look up how to pronounce this, and Google is showing me like paella and papaya, and that's not this at all. I'm so sorry. If somebody knows it, you can tell me. But they were some of the first natives who befriended Franciscan priest de Oliveras. I don't know if I said that right. But they were also some of the first natives to join the San Antonio de Valerio mission in 1718 that would later be called the Alamo Mission. Most of the Payayas died in the latter half of the 18th century on account of infectious disease brought on from Europe. La Llorona was one of the survivors of these outbreaks. She later went and had an on-again, off-again relationship with a married Spaniard. This affair led to her having 2 kids. By the end of the 18th century, the mission was all but abandoned, and the Spaniard had long ago flown the coop. She was left heartbroken and alone. Also by this period, Teodoro de Croix had begun to take actions to the Native Americans' influence the land. He ruled that all unbranded cattle belonged to the government and slowly started making life a living hell for the Payayas. This new decree meant that the local tribes lost a great deal of wealth and were unable to support themselves. Poverty hit like a sledgehammer in the area. No one knows who ended up killing the small Payaya girl. Some accounts say that the raiding band of Apache warriors were deployed. Others tell bandits that needed a place to stay, and a few historians claim that it was starvation. Don't know what killed her and her kin, but she's out there, restless and depressed, and sometimes. That's the story of what you might find by hollering.
That's crazy.
I just keep thinking about the person driving down the street and headlights just catching her.
Right. Like, what the fuck?
Because in Supernatural, the woman is trying to seduce these men.
Right.
And so this is different. This is just her set because she abandoned or whatever the actual story was.
Yeah. That's so crazy. I've never heard that before. Not that version.
Me neither. No, I had no idea. I would have always assumed that it was more South America.
Right.
Again, I haven't ever looked her up, so I haven't watched the movie, nothing. And so I assumed South America because it's a Spanish word.
Right.
I guess turns out essentially Texas.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The more you know.
And also, I hate the picture
my
that's
awesome
on this
singing
article.
voice.
It's terrifying.
I bet.
That story was
Half
also
the-
from River City Ghosts, like my other one.
Half the stuff I keep like finding, the pictures look innocent enough until you get to the website and you're like, oh, JK.
This is scary.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that spooky little time that we put out for you guys this Halloween season, our first spooky season. Woo woo.
And I hope you all have the same goosebumps that we do. I know I'm a little creeped out.
Yeah, black-eyed children that are ghosts.
We didn't even actually talk about the black-eyed children, and
I know, but it
about
still
them.
feels like it's intrusive thoughts.
The hollow-eyed children are following you.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
No.
All right. Well, if you guys like our podcast and you want to hear anything specific, let us know. Reach out to us at gabbpodcast@gmail.com, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. It's GABB Podcast. And we would love it if you guys don't mind, if you really, really don't mind, giving us a review on any of the platforms that allow you to, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. We would really appreciate some feedback. I mean,
subscribe, review, all that jazz.
Subscribe, review, share with your friends. Listen to the alluring Spotify playlist for Halloween with all these different podcasts. And I don't know, we're just so excited that everything is so spooktacular this holiday season.
And don't forget to check us out on the Peer Beyond the Veil Halloween special coming out tomorrow. If you're listening to this on the original launch date, October 30th. They're kind of on FearScape Media's website. We'll have a link in the show notes, and just like us, available everywhere you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget, if you're in the Lexington, Kentucky area, to go check out Lucy Brown Coffee House and look at Cameron Ramsey's art that's for sale. I mentioned it last episode. It is still up until the end of October. Lots of spooky, awesome art.
Yes, Cam has such an amazing talent, and I think it's great that you guys in that area get to see it on display. So that's fantastic.
Also, a side note about his Remember on the last episode, I was trying to say his Instagram name and could not figure it out and said, I'll just type it in the show notes. My sister told me it's arch nemesis. But
oh my God.
That symbol for Instagram is the A. So it starts with an R, but look at it all together. So it's arch nemesis art.
Oh, that's so smart. I would.
The link's in our show notes, so don't worry trying to figure out how to spell that to look him up.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, stay spooky. Bye.
Bye. Happy Halloween.
Hello.
Hey, Anna. Is that a new outfit? You look super cute.
It is. I just went to this really cute store in town called Mainstream Boutique.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a really awesome store. It's like my little hidden secret. It's locally owned by a really wonderful woman named Kim. She's the kindest, most genuine person I've ever met. It's a women's retail boutique that offers a unique selection of clothes and apparel and accessories for all generations. So teenagers to 20 and up. It's magic. I mean, we've talked for years about what do we wear? I don't know what to wear at this age. I don't want to look like a teenager. This store is the store that has changed my outlook on how I appear as an adult.
Oh, that's so cool.
You
said it's a local store?
Yeah, it's local to Shawnee, Oklahoma, but they do ship.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to get on that website. What's their website?
Their website is mainstreamboutique.com. They also have a Facebook page, which is Mainstream Boutique of Shawnee. They're a apparel and accessories for multi-generations. Their mission, which I really stand behind, is to empower, strengthen, and celebrate women in the world throughout fashion. And I think that's so...
Oh, I love that.
And
I'm going right now to check that out, especially if they ship. That's awesome.
It's mainstreamboutique.com or Mainstream Boutique of Shawnee. We'll put all the links in our bio, but I have an exclusive for you guys. Are you ready?
What?
I talked to the owner today. For our listeners only, you get 10% off your full ticket items.
Oh my God.
All full priced items when you ring up 10% off, whether it's online or in person. And if you go in person, tell them we said, hey, they said to use the code GABB for a discount code. And if you use our discount code, you get 10% off all full price items of your entire ticket. How cool is that?
That is amazing. I can't wait to go check it out.
Well, the next time you come visit me, we'll have to have a shopping spree.
I'm in.
GABB is your promo code.
Thank you for listening to Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basement, a FearScape Media podcast. Music by Stephen Timperley. Artwork by Laura Ramsey. Find us online at fearscapemedia.com/GABB podcast or on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GABB podcast or email us gabbpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.